We all know that in our society, social networking is very important. However, there are concerns about lack of accessibility for people who need or want to social network. To address this, we have to look at what social networking actually is. Social networking is the concept of people being able to communicate and interact with one another. However, people who are visually impaired may not have access to what many people consider to be popular social networking, primarily online, such as Facebook and Twitter. The problem with sites like these is that they present so much visual information and clutter that it is impossible for someone who is visually impaired to take it all in. Even if a screen reader is being used, the sheer amount of information being conveyed would make it take an eternity to navigate through these social networking environments, not to mention that much of the information is photos meant to identify people or to share ideas through visual information that can't be perceived by the visually impaired. So first we have to figure out how the visually impaired actually receive information. And one common misconception here is the use of Braille. The visually impaired actually don't commonly use Braille. In fact, the number is less than 10% of visually impaired who know or are learning Braille. And this is because it's slowly becoming less available as it's being replaced in schools by audio and voice recognition technology. And this makes audio and voiceover a suitable choice for a device designed to work with the limitations and capabilities of the visually impaired. So this means that the problem is that we have to create a device that fulfills these needs. Communication and interaction with other people, a device that's easy to use and access for the visually impaired. It relies on audio commands and feedback and allows the users to make connections with other people. So the device that's been imagined actually works as two separate pieces. The first piece contains all of the hardware for the device, and it's just a simple bracelet that can be worn around the wrist. Wearable technology is becoming more popular as it's being developed, and it allows users to have technology in a way that does not stand out or interfere with routine. This makes it compact and easy to carry around, as well as making it less likely to be dropped or misplaced. The second piece of the device is the earpiece, which communicates wirelessly with the bracelet, and this is done through Bluetooth technology. So now we have to ask, how do we interact with this device? And one motion that almost every person makes almost every day in their life is the motion of talking on the phone. It's become so common to lift one's hand toward their face, and that motion has become mapped to verbally communicating with a device. So this is what was chosen as the interaction method for this device. The device will recognize when the user wants to interact by measuring the distance between the earpiece and the bracelet. So when the device is brought towards the face, it will actually recognize that a command is about to be given, and the device will then give audio feedback so that the user knows the command has been executed. The user will start by creating their own profile, which can be as detailed as they want. It can include information such as their age, interests, political views, and many other things, which is very similar to like a Facebook profile or other similar networks, what you might have for a profile. This profile can be referred to by other people when they listen to it by calling on your name and asking to listen to your profile. You can also maintain an audio status, which is part of your profile and can be changed at any time to express how you're feeling, what you're currently doing, where you are, anything else that you want to publicly convey. If you want to maintain contact with a person, you can add them as a friend. This is done simply by prompting the device to take a command and saying add along with the name of the person. This person can then easily be referred to by stating their name into the device to gain access to their profile, as well as the ability to make calls to that person, which are live audio chats, very similar to a hands-free phone call that only you can hear through your earpiece. When making these calls, the receiver's device or phone will vibrate, at which point they can accept or deny the call. So now imagine a situation where you have a friend that you're trying to find. You enter a crowded room and you know they're in that room, but you can't locate them because you can't see them. You know who you're looking for, but how do you make that connection? This device uses GPS and is able to track the location of your friends as long as they have their location set publicly, and it tracks it through their phone or device through GPS, and it will then guide you to their location or allow you to connect to a live chat with them so you can find each other. This is incredibly useful because it's now taking this device beyond the idea of standard wireless communication to aiding in live interaction. Social networking is not just online, and this device will help promote face-to-face communication by helping locate friends. One of the most important features of this device is the ability to set displays, which are essentially a way of projecting to everyone nearby that you were looking for something. And this something can range anywhere from casual conversation to meeting someone with similar interests to needing help with something that you're struggling with. If you set a display, and someone who can fulfill that display is nearby and they are set to public settings, both devices will give tactile feedback by vibrating. The users will then get the option to connect to live chat so they can locate each other and fulfill whatever the desire happened to be. This is useful because it's not easy for someone who cannot see to just approach a stranger. How would you locate a stranger and be able to tell anything about them if you cannot see them? Who would you approach if you can't see any differences between them? For instance, if you're sitting in a subway station waiting for a bus and you feel bored and want to make a connection with someone who shares your interest in music, per se, and someone who has similar tastes walks by, both devices would vibrate. The users then connect and locate each other to have a conversation about their shared interests. This is a great way to help people connect and relieve some of the stress of approaching absolute strangers. This is also useful to those who are not visually impaired, as once again it removes the social discomfort of not knowing how to approach a stranger with no knowledge of their interests or personality. So this device is useful to both the visually impaired and the normal sighted, meaning that it can vastly increase the opportunities and connections that are available to the visually impaired. So just to quickly recap some of the benefits of this device, it's easy to use and it's wearable, which makes it inconspicuous and it doesn't draw any attention. It allows you to maintain contacts with your friends. It allows you to maintain your own profile of interests, and it gives you the ability to locate friends, mostly for the visually impaired, ability to make new connections with other people, which can be useful to anyone, the ability to easily locate people with common interests. So the important aspect is that it allows easier face-to-face communication rather than impersonal messaging, and it helps the visually impaired locate friends and even make connections with strangers who they otherwise may not have even known were there.